Okay, so be prepared to be a little bit confused because, let's face it, nobody has enough confusion in their life, right? When you look at this box, what are you thinking? Mid full tower case. Hands down, right? Nope, sorry, it's not. It's a mini case. I'm Rodney Reynolds from 3DGameMan.com, and this here is the Phanteks Enthoo Mini Extra Large case. And there's a reason for this. You know, for it to be as large as a mid-tower case, but you can only fit microATX and mini-ITX form factor motherboards on the inside. Yes, there is. Or at least I hope there is. The box itself looks sweet. Look at that. Beautiful. You have features and specifications, and on the back you have more features and specifications, plus all kinds of pictures. Let's open up and see what's inside. It's packaged really well, 2 pieces of styrofoam on either end, this thick piece in the middle, and the case itself is in a plastic bag. And they've got protective plastic on both of the windows, plus on these shiny bits on the right side. Inside of the case there was this box, and in it these items. Now for me, they sent me a couple of extra boxes, which I'll get to in just a moment. So in this box they include a user's manual, a bracket for a radiator, a bracket for a pump, as well as a bracket for a reservoir. A bag here which has a Velcro tie down, a couple of cable ties, and a handy, super nifty toolbox with all the screws and stuff in it. In this box they include a 3.5-inch hard drive bracket, plus a couple of LED strips. One of these is 1 meter long and the other 2 meters long, and they are multicolor and waterproof. What's inside of this box is really special and unique because it transforms a single system into a dual system configuration. Now what does that mean exactly? Well, with this you can actually have a mini ITX motherboard and a micro ATX motherboard in one system, and it's pretty darn easy. They include this, which is basically the back plate, you can see here, and they also include the ITX motherboard plate plus screws, and an I/O panel which has 2 USB 3 ports, a microphone jack, and a headphone jack, as well as the power button and reset button. Okay, so let's get on with it. First of all, it looks outstanding. The build quality is really good as well. It's mainly comprised of steel. You've got some mesh and plastic. You've got, windows on the left side panel, but they have aluminum here on the front panel, which, by the way, can be removed by pulling at the bottom. Note that they do include 3 5.25-inch drive bays, ventilation right here, also ventilation here, and they've got filters as well. Now the front panel doesn't come completely off, rather they've got this cable here, and that's for the LED along the front right. As well, at the top right, you've got the power button. I'll get to the reset button and a few other items here that are at the top, plus there's more mesh at the top in just a moment. At the front, they include 2 140mm intake fans, but optionally you can install up to 2 120mm fans. Now as for radiators, well, you can fit a radiator that is up to 240mm or a 140mm radiator. At the top of the case, there's lots of mesh, so plenty of ventilation. Now they do not include any fans here, but you can install up to 3 120mm fans or up to 2 140mm fans, or if you want to, you can fit a radiator that is up to 360mm or one that is up to 280mm. They include a switch for the LED, here's the reset button, 2 USB 3 ports, as well as a microphone and headphone jack. The top panel can actually be removed. Just take off a single thumb screw that's at the back and pull like so. Okay, so I'm sure you're wondering, what's the dimensions of this super micro tower? Well, it is 260 by 550 by 440 millimeters. On the right side panel, there's ventilation. This is actually for the power supply's fan, and they do include a dust filter. Now here is provision for up to two 120 millimeter fans. Obviously, they do not include any. As a matter of fact, they have covers over it now. Also on the right side of the case at the very bottom, there's mesh to provide extra ventilation. At the back of the case right here is where you would install a standard ATX power supply. And by the way, they do include rubber feet on the inside for the power supply to lodge on. They include a 140 millimeter exhaust fan. You can install another 140 here, or alternatively, two optional 120 millimeter fans. Now, as for radiators, you can fit one that is up to 280 millimeters. That, of course, is if you go with the 140 dimension, or the 120 dimension, you can go up to a 240. Here's where you would install the motherboard's I/O shield plate, extra ventilation, and they include 5 ventilated expansion slots. And note that they have 4 thumb screws, 2 on each side panel, and each of these thumb screws comes with a rubber washer. Lots of space on the inside of this case. You can see that they have rubber grommeted holes. That's to route cables behind the motherboard tray. There's also punch outs on the right side of the motherboard tray, and plenty of space, by the way, behind the motherboard tray and the right side panel to tuck those cables away. Now you do have lots of provision here for drives. You can fit up to 6 3.5-inch drives, or up to 8 2.5-inch drives. And there's a toolless design for installing and removing the 5.25-inch drive bays. Now, I never spoke about branding before. There's no branding really on the outside of the case at all. Some branding here though, and also here. Okay, so let's go over the clearance. And oh, by the way, the space behind the motherboard tray and the right side panel is 30 millimeters. Now you can fit a graphics card that is up to 289 millimeters in length, but if you have the hard drive cages removed, you can fit video cards that are up to 410 millimeters in length, plus a CPU that is up to 215 millimeters high. Lots of stuff going on behind the motherboard tray, and here is where you would install and remove the 2.5-inch or 3.5-inch drives. Remember, you've got 2 hard drive cages, one at the top, one at the bottom. You can remove both or one of these by taking off a couple or a few thumb screws. These are plastic rails, by the way, which come right out. Install the drive and put it right back into place. Now you can have, again, a total of 6 3.5-inch drives or 6 2.5-inch drives here. You can also install up to 2 2.5-inch drives, one on each of these. These are just brackets that come out. You install the drive and it slides back in position like so. As I mentioned before, there's lots of holes on the motherboard tray to route the cables through, plus punch outs to attach them, and they have these integrated Velcro strips here to organize the cables. As well, you can attach up to 7 fans. They have this nifty fan controller. They as well include one connection here for a 4-pin, and they have a lead which goes to the CPU fan header, as well as a SATA power connector and a SATA power connector for the LED. Now this is a really nice touch. The power button is lit up, but they have a really nice thin LED that goes down the front right of the case as well at the top. When you press the LED button at the top of the case, look what happens. This, I think, is gorgeous. And you can choose whichever color tickles your fancy. At the bottom of the case, there are 6 rubber feet, a couple of removable dust filters. Now, they do not include any fans down here, but optionally, you can install up to 3 120 millimeter fans or up to 2 140 millimeter fans, as well radiators that are up to 360 if you're going with 120 millimeter dimension, or if you're going 140, well, you can fit a radiator that is up to 280 millimeters. Although, keep in mind, if you have a multiple video card setup, well, that's not going to work if you put or try and put the radiator at the bottom. Of course, there's other places to put the radiator besides at the bottom, so that's good. Finally, have a listen to the stock cooling. This is an outstanding case and unique in the fact that you can install two motherboards on the inside, a microATX and a mini-ITX. Super cool, there's no question about it. I love the overall styling and it has tons of features. Without a doubt, this is a 100% kick-ass product. Until next time, take care.